Hello, and thank you for joining us for our BNI San Diego Podcast. We're actually live in Las Vegas. We are attending the BNI National Conference 2024. Really excited. I am very privileged to have one of my BNI besties, probably the BNI bestie, Spencer Reynolds from Tampa, Florida, joining us today. Spencer, what are we talking about? Well, actually, Spencer, before we get into the topic, tell me one fantastic thing about you.
I live life to the fullest. I have 4 kids and a wife that are my whole life, and we all work the business together. Every single one of them work in BNI.
Terrific. Absolutely. Amazing family, right? So Spencer, what's our topic today?
We're going to be talking power teams.
Power teams, good topic.
Well, it's the number one thing. There's lots of great things we do in BNI, and I always say the most important thing to get the best at is one-to-ones, and having incredible one-to-ones is the number one most important skill you have in BNI. But if you want to make the most amount of money, 0 questions, power teams will eclipse everything by many factors, how much money you make in a power team.
So those are two, and one kind of leads into the other, but
Sure.
Those are two very different things, right?
Absolutely.
So let's talk about that.
So the power team itself is the group of people who are going to make a difference in your life. You want to look for the right kind of people who really focus on the right target market. That's what a real power team, right? Back in the day, and by the way, BNI back in the day, when I say that, when they very, very first started power teams, the guy who owned the region that I bought, he started it in Tampa with another guy up in the Midwest. And the two of them started teaching this. It went around the world. And then all of a sudden, at the beginning of COVID, that's where they said, let's get together all the people who train this around the world and see who has the best stuff. And this is one of the benefits of global learning that we have in BNI that you don't find anywhere else. Because we have people who do this all over the world. We all of a sudden heard from India and China. They did it very differently than we did. And the way they did it was not based on contact spheres, which is what we had originally built everything around. So if you had the trades power team, you had the health and wellness power team, you had the real estate power team. And all those power teams were all based on a contact sphere, not the best. Because what you find is they fall apart.
So it just goes to show that even with power teams, we've evolved over the years.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
And I think where we've landed now is probably the perfect spot. Which is what we're going to talk about.
Yeah, because if you take that conversation of what a contact sphere looks like, that's everybody in the trades or everybody, they don't have the same client.
No.
They don't focus on the right thing. That's why they fall apart. And so many people, I've tried to get my power team going. It just didn't work. Well, that's because you didn't have the right people in the room. The right people in the room focus on your target. So it doesn't matter what your target is as long as it's shared by every person. So I always go through that target market conversation and I say, and everyone needs to do this on their every one-to-one. Who is your target market? So that you can clearly identify who they're looking for. Because number one, you're looking to see, do we have the same? Or number 2, who are the other people I've just met with in the last month and who are their targets so I can connect you?
So when you're going through this process with them, how many people are you coming across that actually don't even know who their target market is?
90%.
So what do you go through that exercise with them?
I say, okay, you're making an avatar.
Okay.
Who is the silhouette, the perfect client that you have? And by the way, this is not the perfect client you want. It's the perfect client you have because you want your database to be full of these people.
Okay.
If you're choosing to do a new target market in a new type of business, you do not have a bunch of people to share with other people. So it's important to say, these are the people I already have. Now you could over time learn how to morph that to a new version, but you really got to focus on your current target. So I say to people, who is your target? And they say, anybody with a back. That's the chiropractor. Just really funny, right? Not funny. So who do you want to focus on? And you got to look at many different things. I say the first and foremost is their age. Are they 20s? Are they 30s? Are they 40s? Are they 50s? Because people in their 20s do not associate with their 30s.
It's a good point, especially nowadays.
Right? I do not associate with 50s because I'm 49. Right? So it's kind of silly.
We do associate, though.
I know. But if you really look at the conversation around, right, what age group, it's pretty easy to go, they're 40.
Yeah, very much so.
And a 40-year-old will also say, I'm 49, I'm still a 40. So even though you say 50, the 50-year-old and the 59-year-old are still going to associate. So people go, 48 to 53. And I'm like, no, 40, 50, right? What's the number? Now, the next one I ask is male or female. Now, it may not ever matter, but it matters.
Well, the more focus you get, right?
Well, there's going to be some people who are going to look for specifically those people inside of their business that are only female or male oriented. But then there's other people who are like, who's the decision maker? Who's the one you're really going to talk to?
Which is oftentimes the wife.
Yeah.
If it's a married couple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be the person who's staying at home more often,
Yeah.
right? So having that opportunity to say age, gender, because of who you're going to be talking to regularly. And then the next one really comes down to, are they an employee or are they a business owner? Because that's a big difference, right? It's not the same person.
Very
They're very different. And the next thing I then ask is, where do they live? Because as soon as I say, where do they live? Then people give me a city or a subdivision in the city. That now tells me their economic spot. Because it's important to look at this opportunity and say, who inside of that group, right? How much do they make? What kind of person is this? Because if you can't hammer that down to a specific, you can't find that person for the other people to know that they have the same in common.
So this is a great conversation because I think we have a lot of people out there that misunderstand what power teams are and how to go about getting your referral partners in the power team that you need.
Mm-hmm.
And then we look at the size of the power team.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen where it's just too big. There's just too many people.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a perfect size power team?
It depends on who you ask. If you ask somebody who's in a large contact sphere power team, they're going to say a huge power team's good. I have in my region the biggest power team of trades of anyone in the world. And he's actually been on a podcast with Ivan Meisner before, Jason Avery. And in there, he's talking about power teams. But that was past power teams. That was pre-COVID power teams, because what we learned in COVID in the US is those people focusing on target market, small groups, way more powerful, and they don't fall apart because you have 5 or 6 people. It's not trying to have big. We literally have a trades power team in our chapter that has 110 members currently. That power team has 37 trades members, right? They make millions of dollars with each other. So they always think that's the best. It's the best. But the reality is it's not a power team. It's a great contact sphere, which makes tons of money. And for real, you're going to get 60+% of your referrals from people in your contact sphere because you do the same kind of business.
Okay. So let's pause real quick, because there, again, part of what my hope is out of this conversation is helping people understand that there are differences between even contact spheres and power teams. So what's the difference between a contact sphere and a power team?
So a contact sphere is a group of symbiotic relationships that are based in the same type of thing. If you think of trades, it's easy. You think of real estate. Okay, home services, home people, anybody who deals with a home. Medical, who are the people who deal with health and wellness. You can think of, legal. We have that same huge chapter has a legal power team. 13 attorneys, actually 16 attorneys at last one. They all do business, but they're not all looking for the same client. They're just all working together in the legal world or in the trades world. What we then take is the next step when we go to a power team inside of a target market. Now we're looking for and you get to break it down. That avatar we were talking about. 50-year-old male, lives in a gated community in this area of the city. And then my last question I ask every time, which always makes people smile, and it's not just because I'm a car freak. I am a car freak, but there's a big difference when I say, what kind of car do they drive? Because you can have the 50-year-old male that has a business owner that lives in this part of the city who has this kind of economic level. But as soon as they tell me what kind of car they drive, then it solidifies, what type of actual buyer they are. Because if they're driving the $100,000 truck, you know that kind of person.
No, that's a very different
person.
But
if I say they drive a Tesla, different person. Same kind of car, same kind of money, same kind of, right? But it's a totally different buying mindset. If you're like, they drive a Toyota, different game. Compared to somebody says they drive a BMW or a Mercedes, like they're into, more performance, more into the sport, more into they do it because of something, whereas it's not just a utilitarian thing. So that's a very big demographic. For me, I use that every time. So you're getting down, because then the next one's going to be, I want the female 40-year-old who has Lululemon, ponytail, glass water bottle, driving in her Range Rover, right? That is a very clear picture of who you're looking for. Now build a power team around that group. Because if that's who you know, and you have all your clients based in that world, then you can find the people who have nothing to do with your contact sphere, who service that exact same person.
Which really takes you outside of what people normally think. Right? We're so set in believing that our contact spheres and power teams are connected. Right. Sometimes they are, sometimes they're not.
More often they're not if they're done right, because that 40-year-old woman driving the Range Rover with the ponytail, Lululemon on, glass water bottle, we know what they look like. Now we can identify them. And guess what? The hairstylist in the chapter may be one of the best highs. And then you have the financial planner, who's a female that happens to focus on that group of people because she talks to them all the time. And then you have, right, and these are not even close to the same contact sphere. You got one in home services,
Totally
one in
different.
medical, one in health and wellness, one in events, and they all service that person. But guess what? When that power team gets together and shares, all they're sharing is that client over and over and over.
So then would you say, I know that we're coming down to a close here soon. Would you say that one of the most important elements of a power team is understanding your target market, your individual,
You can't start it without that. You have to have that to start.
So did you hear that? You can't really start your power team unless you understand who your target market is, who your avatar, as Spencer said, is.
Yeah. Then you go to the next step of that. And podcast 698, I talk about it with Dr. Ivan Meisner on the BNI podcast.
That's on the BNI, the BNI
official
podcast.
BNI podcast.
Yes.
And we talk about the referral flow. So finding out let's say there's 5 people in that group, who leads to the next one, who leads to the next one, who leads to the next. So you have an introduction phase that happens for each one of those people, introducing the next person in the phase every time. So like I had someone, I was in the mortgage business. My normal person that I would normally refer to the insurance inside of the real mortgage world. I had nothing to do with that. Mine was actually the estate planning attorney. Why? Because it taught me in my power team how to identify. We both serve our very specific target market, but he taught me how to identify his perfect client in my process. And it happened to be on a loan in the loan application, a line on the loan application. It had nothing to do with my world, but it made everything to him. And he told me the right way to ask the question to find out, do they have a trust? What's the name? He actually asked me, what is the name of the trust you'll hold this property in? To which I didn't care, but he really cared. And it gave me a way to introduce him to every client I had, because he taught me how to say, if you don't have a trust, these are the words to say. If you do have a trust, these are the words to say. And so I introduced everybody every time. And that's the flow that every one of us need to have, so that even though you may be in totally different contact spheres, you can say the question from the hairstylist.
Got it.
Because you're next in line to do that. Now you pass them around all the time.
Yeah. Did you catch that? Right? This is all about power teams. Would you say that power teams are really an essential element of a BNI chapter?
Only if you want to make money.
Wait. I thought coming into BNI was all about making money.
Well, you think it's about making money. It's all about gaining trust of the other people in the room so that you can make money with them. But the reality is, if you want to make money, there's a difference between making money and making money.
Okay, so there's a big difference. Yeah. So then some last words for our audience, whether they're in BNI or they're thinking about coming into BNI and learning. What would you say if someone that's listening to this and goes, okay, I want to start a power team? Where do they begin?
Go to the Power Team's advanced training. They've got to learn the concept. Bring the couple people you think it's going to be with to that training as well. Because if you hear it together and you all go, yep, we're in the same place, we're in the same person, now you have a start line. That's
a key thing, right? Being on the same page. Because if you're looking at it differently, it's not going to work.
Yeah. Well, if they have a different idea of how to even start it, because we clearly have a way in BNI that we're a great franchise that has a process for everything.
Absolutely.
We know exactly how to build it. There is no question on how to do it. It's who to do it with. You got to find that who first. Then you can look through the process.
There you go. Who before the how.
Yeah.
So Spencer, thank you for joining us. I look forward to having you on again. We'll probably even continue this conversation because it's a really good conversation. For our listeners from Las Vegas at our BNI National Conference, thank you for joining us. We look forward to seeing you back with us next week. And again, Spencer, thank you for being with us today. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
This episode of the BNI San Diego Podcast has been brought to you by Cruise Productions, a San Diego-based video production company and proud BNI member. You can find us at the intersection where business and creativity meet, or online at cruiseproductionsinc.com.